Okay, welcome everybody to this Breaking Barriers Refugee Week session, Ukraine Support 3 years on. My name is Philip Horspool. I am the Director of the Centre for International Training and Education, and I'm really pleased to be presenting this session today, which we have many interesting speakers. Next slide, please. Okay, just a little bit of information. Please use the Q&A function to submit questions and comments. You can find it at the top of your screen, and we'll have a bit of a session at the end where we'll be able to answer some of these questions, hopefully. We will be recording this session for future use, and you'll be sent a link to the video once the recording is available. And if you have any queries following the session, please email sanctuary@le.ac.uk. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is the basic outline of what we're going to be doing today. So we'll be covering a range of things from scholarships and fellowships, twinning activities, fundraising and donations, but also we want to kind of look forward to other ways in which we can support Ukraine going forwards. Next slide, please. Okay, so just to say, just over 3 years ago, Ukraine was invaded by Russia. As I say, today we've got many people who are affected by that, and some others who offered their support during that time. I'm really delighted to invite the President and Vice-Chancellor of Leicester University, Nishan, Canagarajah, to open the session. Leicester, along with King's, have been universities at the forefront of supporting Ukraine over the last 3 years. Over to you, Nishan.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much, Phil. First of all, can I say how I wish we were meeting in different circumstances? 3 years on, still in the middle of a conflict is not the best way to be in. But equally, I'm delighted to be able to have this opportunity as part of the Breaking Barriers Refugee Week to remember the 3rd anniversary of the conflict, the invasion of Ukraine. And I also welcome my University of Leicester colleagues who have been doing a tremendous amount to support this activity, but also our partners, King's College, and also our Ukrainian partners from Kremenchuk and Poltava. It's great to see so many of you here as part of this event. I know how difficult conflicts are, having been through one myself. And I know how difficult for the people who are going through what they're going through for the past 3 years. And it is a really hard time for everybody. And I remember even today, there have been missile attacks in Kharkiv and Vladimir Zelensky's hometown hotel. And that is a tough reality for the people who are living in Ukraine right now. So it is hard in these situations that you feel you would like to do more, but you can't. You're not in a position to do that for various reasons. But I'm delighted that despite the varied difficulties, we have tried to do what we can to give the people of Ukraine some hope. Because when you're going through the conflict, sometimes you wonder whether anybody else in the world cares about what's going on, how they might help you to get out of this difficult situation. And I hope colleagues in Ukraine and the population at large in Ukraine know how much the world cares. Even today, there is a conference going on in Brussels because the European leaders are very concerned about the precarious situation that we are in today. So I hope there'll be a swift resolution and a lasting peace in Ukraine, and people can go about doing their normal business. But I think what is important to recognize is that while conflict and war might make us feel helpless and powerless and worried, but I think there is always hope. And I think that's what this initiative is all about, is to show that even in conflict, the humanity still survives. Humanity still takes interest in other people's suffering and want to help. And many people have done many different things, including Chris, who is in this call, one of our staff, who have been to support the refugees and hosted so many families in Leicester. And that hope still should continue to see how we can make something good come out of this conflict. So I'm delighted that we have been able to use the power of education, which is what we do to do well, to create opportunities for students from Ukraine to come and spend some time in Leicester, to have a twinning arrangement with Poltava and Kremenchuk to think about how we can support each other. And also many staff members who have helped various families or through research collaborations or educational exchanges. My fervent hope is that this will continue even after the conflict has ended, because a huge amount of work has been put in to set up these partnerships. It'll be a real shame if they all come to an end and we lose interest and appetite to continue to grow this collaboration. On that note, I just want to pay tribute to Phil, Pascal, Alex, and many others in the sanctuary unit at Leicester who've done a huge amount to support this initiative. And as I said, sometimes in conflict, good things come about. Obviously, like the partnership with Ukraine, I'm pleased that we have now developed partnership with King's College London because of this initiative. Again, something good coming out from these terrible events that I hope we can nurture and develop and cultivate. So today we are going to hear various presentations from students or staff involved in this activity. But as Vice-Chancellor, I just want to say how proud I am and I'm pleased I am the work that we have done. But equally, I just want to offer my comfort and support for colleagues in Ukraine. We will do with the limited resources and the support effort we can make to do whatever we can to show solidarity and support during the terrible times that you're experiencing right now. So that's all I wanted to say as a way of welcome, and I look forward to hearing all the presentations. Thank you very much for giving me a few minutes to say a few words, and please stay strong and we will prevail. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for those words, Nishan. And yeah, I'd just like to echo Nishan's words around working. That opportunity of universities working together, I think, is really exemplified with the work that we've done with King's and other universities. So I'm really pleased to say that we've got representation here from King's. So I'll just take the opportunity to introduce Paul Webb. Paul is the Sanctuary Programme Manager at King's College London. He's going to say a few words and then introduce some of the students and others from King's. Over to you, Paul.
Thanks very much, Phil. I'm delighted to be here, and yeah, I'm just going to talk a little bit about the scholarships and fellowships work that we did and I continue to do in partnership with Leicester, and then I'll hand over to a couple of students. So I'll try and be quick with my words. So as a summary, we received a large donation from an organisation in the wake of the invasion of the Ukraine, and King's acted as the grant holder. So we received a significant amount of money to work with Ukrainians on scholarships and fellowships. King's was the grant holder, and we distributed that money amongst King's, the University of Leicester, University of Newcastle, and the Open University. And as Professor Nishan said there, this is one of the brilliant things that came out of such a dark time. And we created this consortium of these 4 universities working together on scholarships, fellowships, and a university sponsorship model. And the relationship between King's and particularly Leicester actually is really it's gone from strength to strength, and I'm really excited to continue to work with Leicester on this work and beyond. The funding really brought us together, and we started with weekly meetings to think about how we can operationalise this work, which the meetings continued, not quite as regularly once we found our feet, but it certainly brought together universities in this particular space. And it created a mechanism where we were sharing good practice, helping each other. And something that I'd just like to reflect on is in the darkest of circumstances, it really brings out people's generosity. And I'm talking about the people who are affected by the war, but and the people who are working around it. So that's definitely something positive that I think has come out of it. Next slide. Yeah, so I can just show you a table here of how many scholarships and fellowships we managed to award. So in total, 40 scholarships and 7 fellowships across the consortium. So it's a significant number of people who'd come over on various Ukraine schemes, who are studying or researching at the different institutions. There's a real community at each of our institutions, which again is fantastic, and we continue to work with these people, and you'll hear from a couple of them in a minute. Just to mention, I'll do this quickly because we have 2 students to speak, but something else that we did together as a consortium was this idea of university sponsorship. So with the money that we had, with the government schemes that were available to Ukrainians, we wanted to develop a proactive response to forced displacement through models that can be scaled and replicated. So what we're trying to do is create frameworks that we can then share amongst the sector that show good practice when it comes to university sponsorship, so creating safe pathways for forcibly displaced people through higher education. So I will move to the next slide. So the university sponsorship model enables the higher education sector to implement the Homes for Ukraine scheme and help displaced Ukrainians to keep engaged with studies and research. The partner universities, we used a relational matching process to match hosts from their communities with guests, and then we supported those hosts in their duties of hosting Ukrainians. And we have evaluated the model in order to share learnings nationally and internationally. We really want to influence policies when it comes to safe pathways through higher education. Next slide. So the process outside of the scholarships and fellowships involved the university sponsorship model. So we recruited hosts and trained them. We matched them with relevant students and fellows. We offered pre and post arrival support, and then we offered continued access to education for students and continued access to research and employment opportunities for academics. And we've been thinking a lot about what moving on support we can offer to these people. And just to be clear, this wasn't necessarily just students at the respective universities. There were people who were studying in Ukraine and managed to leave Ukraine, set up with a host family here, and then continue their studies. So giving them a safe environment to continue working and studying in their own universities. So we wanted it to be wider than just students and fellows in our own institutions. And that's just an overview of the matching process, which we did with Citizens UK. So this is one of the things that took a lot of work and collaboration between the 4 universities, which is why we needed weekly meetings in the first instance. But it worked really well, and I think it was proof of what we can do when we collaborate together and think beyond just studentships and fellowships. We do those a lot within the sanctuary space, and that's fantastic, but we want there to be a broader benefit for the work that we do in universities, thinking beyond just our institutions. Next slide. And we also offered lots of post-arrival support, so training sessions for hosts and volunteers, featuring individuals with experience of welcoming refugees in their local communities, and the amount of people who wanted to do this was absolutely fantastic. We assigned caseworkers, and we had sanctuary champions within the faculties. I'm really whizzing through that because I don't want to take any more time. I'm going to pass over now to Mikita, who is one of our students, and I'd love for you, Mikita, to talk for just a few minutes about your experience of being a student on one of these schemes.
Thank you. My name is Mikita Veprik, and I'm a master's student at King's College London. Mathematics is a big part of my life since my elementary school. I participated in a lot of math competitions and won a silver medal in international one. I started my undergraduate degree in my home city in Kharkiv in Ukraine. And I started my research in the area of dynamical systems since my 3rd year of undergraduate study. And when the war in Ukraine began, I was on my final year. My home city, Kharkiv, is near the border with Russia, and at the start of the war, battles were near the city and even within the city itself. And even now it continues to face regular missile and drone attacks. In such conditions, continuing my mass journey seemed impossible. I applied to the sanctuary scholarship, and I cannot even imagine that I would study in such an incredible place as King's College London. I enjoy my study here, and I'm expanding my knowledge, and I have an opportunity to speak with prominent mathematicians in London. I also continue my research in the area of dynamical systems, and this year I even proved some new results in mathematics. The sanctuary scholarship team support me during the whole process, including my visa application and finding the place to live during the study, and I'm deeply grateful for it. Beyond academics, I part of active life here, attending different events in King's College London, and it's really inspiring. So this scholarship is a key part of my current and future success, and I'm deeply grateful for the opportunity to continue my path as a mathematician. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Makita, for sharing your experience there. It's wonderful to have you at King's, and thanks for taking the time. And we have just a really short video testimonial now from another student who wasn't able to make it today, but he was really keen to share his experience. So let's try and share that now and hope it all works fine.
Hello everyone, my name is Artem and I'm currently doing my master's degree in digital marketing here at King's, which would not have been possible without the Sanctuary Scholarship. The support that comes from this scholarship is enormous, and the Sanctuary team has been with me every step of my journey. I want to give a special thanks to Janahan, who helped me in so many ways, starting from immigration support, obtaining Ukrainian scheme visa, securing student accommodation, and finding hosts, which make it so much easier for me to settle down. Anika and Mikey, who are my hosts from the Department of Classic here at King's, are truly warm-hearted people who welcomed me so kindly when I arrived to the UK and made it feel like a second home. Living in London has been truly an eye-opening experience, giving me a chance to meet new people from diverse cultural backgrounds and perspectives. Studying at one of the most renowned universities is something I could only have dreamed about. I'm not gonna lie, studying here is not an easy task, but it's truly rewarding. Every day I push my boundaries to gain valuable skills and knowledge that will definitely help me to achieve my long-term aspirations. Programs like these are incredibly important because in times of adversity, beyond financial support, they provide a sense of stability, confidence, and what is more important, peace of mind. And I'm so grateful to the university and the team that made this happen, offering such an unique opportunity for me, and to the UK for its continued support in helping Ukraine win. Thank you so much, and Slava Ukraini!
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for listening. I'm delighted at how fast I've whizzed through that. I was really worried I was going to go over time. And really, really looking forward to continuing the partnership with Leicester. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much to all three of you. That was just great to hear those testimonials. In the Sanctuary Seekers Unit, we work with lots of people, and I'll often hear of, we're often talking about what we as a university can do for others, but
What we shouldn't forget either is how enriching it is to have people from other cultures and other countries, and how much they contribute to our university and make us a truly international university. One real example of this is the next speaker, Dr. Inessa Kostenko, who came here as a Cara Fellow, and has just contributed so much to the university, and I know that she's going to cover some of those things today. So over to you, Inessa.
Thank you so much, Phil, for the introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm very pleased to be here today and to share my experience as a Cara and British fellow researcher at the University of Leicester, and to reflect on the vital support extended to Ukrainian academics and institutions during this challenging time. Could I ask the second slide, please? Thank you so much. So for 11 years in the eastern regions of Ukraine had lived under the shadow of war, but 3 years ago, on 24th February, the conflict escalated, reaching almost every corner of the country. And in a moment, life in my hometown, Kharkiv, changed completely. Next slide, please. And like many others, I faced an impossible decision to stay in the basement with my children or leave for the unknown. And both options were terrifying, but what gave me the strength to move was knowing that we were not alone. And one day, when I was lucky enough to get a Wi-Fi connection, I received countless emails from colleagues around the world saying, "We stand with Ukraine." And at that moment, I felt something stronger than fear, a sense of belonging to a wider academic and human community. And that feeling gave me the courage to move forward and to overcome my fear and take the difficult step of leaving. Next slide, please. But from the very beginning, the University of Leicester stepped up not only with words, but with actions, providing real support for students and academics. I must also admit that a lot of my colleagues at the time spent hours and hours crafting applications, hoping for quick responses. But in my case, the University of Leicester found me first, and it was my fantastic mentor who reached out and encouraged me to apply for the British Academy Fellowship. And that moment was really life-changing because it meant I could continue my academic career when everything seemed uncertain. Next slide, please. Since joining the University of Leicester, as a fellow, I have had the opportunity to focus on 3 key areas: research, teaching, and leadership, all of which allow me to contribute to Ukraine in meaningful ways. I had the opportunity to collaborate with Space Park Leicester and the Institute for Space on different projects related to space security, safety. As part of this work, I successfully secured 3 research grants and established collaborations with Ukrainian researchers in the space sector, ensuring that Ukraine remains an active part of the global conversation. We also contributed to strengthening the impact of the Ukrainian Advanced Space Law Journal, raising its visibility through international collaborations. And this is particularly significant now as discussions around space security take on even greater relevance in the context of war. But none of this would have been possible without the resource, support, and academic environment provided by the University of Leicester. Next slide, please. Alongside with my research, I have been actively developing my teaching expertise, and last year I achieved Associate Fellow certification, and currently I'm pushing postgraduate certificate in academic and professional practice. My teaching experience, combined with the University of Leicester's ongoing support for Ukrainian universities, has helped shape the idea and structure of collaborative project aimed at advancing higher education in Ukraine. Through Leicester's Twin Universities initiative, we developed a structured workshop program, which I will be delivering this spring and summer as well, to introduce British-inspired pedagogical practice to Ukrainian academics. This initiative focuses on the key differences between the UK and Ukrainian education systems, highlighting the key areas for improvement. Next slide, please. Beyond research and teaching, I have also been involved in several initiatives. From my very first weeks at Leicester, I connected with the Bright Path Future Project, a remarkable initiative providing essential support for newly arrived Ukrainians. The team developed practical resources, including books, videos, and culture guides to help newcomers adapt to life in the UK. I contributed by translating all these materials into Ukrainian. Once again, none of this would have been possible without university's support. Next slide, please. Leicester's support for Ukraine has not stopped with me, and university continues to welcome new researchers at risk, providing them not only with academic opportunities, but also with essential organizational support, housing, and integration assistance. Having been one of the first CARA fellows here, I now feel a personal responsibility to help others navigate this transition. Fortunately, the university has created a structured way to do this and is constantly improving the process, ensuring that new researchers receive the support they need. I also have plenty of opportunities to get involved, assisting new researchers and understanding both academic and everyday life in the UK, navigating like university process, finding school for children, and other issues. Summarizing everything, there is no doubt that the war is devastating. It has changed everything, but what has also changed is the way we support each other. We have learned to adapt, perceive, and keep going despite uncertainty. And while Ukraine continues to fight for its survival, institutions like University of Leicester show that academic solidarity is not just a phrase, it's a huge action. And thanks to this, we are standing, we are working, and we are ensuring that the future of Ukrainian education and research remains strong. Thank you so much for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that account, Inessa, and it always amazes me just how you manage to fit everything in as well as being a mother to your children and fitting all that in as well. So we're going to move on now. So many universities across the UK have supported Ukraine through twinning activities, and Leicester has been no exception. We're really pleased to be twinned with two different universities in Ukraine, Kremenchuk and in Poltava, and we'll be hearing from them shortly. But first of all, to sort of introduce us to some of the ways in which we've worked with our twin partners is Dr. Aldo Rona from the University of Leicester. So over to you, Aldo.
Thank you. First of all, big thank you for having me at this particular meeting, and what an incredible journey has been over the last 3 years. I'm here with the backdrop of the Leicestershire Aero Club, where our students, including some of the Ukrainian students, have come to undertake some training, and this probably would not have been happening if we didn't have the opening of our doors and our pursuits and our tuitions to Ukrainian students. And so, indeed, this conflict has brought us close. If I think about where all it started 3 years ago with the memorandum understanding in order to set up the twin universities by Nishan, by Geoff Green, they had a forethought of stepping in very quickly to try to establish a framework in which we were able to develop our activities, and that was very fortunate for us to have such as charismatic leaders for it. And then it was down to us to roll up our sleeves and try to get the boat going. Now, I'm from engineering, and therefore I focus on some engineering activities, but I have the opportunity of also looking over the activities of a different twinning with Poltava. So I'll just give you some sound bites of what we have been able to achieve over 3 years. Gratitude is due to the Mahoma Group, who has supported us financially throughout this twinning with the first grant of 88k and then a follow-up grant for this year activities. And these started to forge an alliance of minds. These started to forge us to try to understand each other's between the two universities. Ukrainian culture in the university and British culture in the university, they have their specialties, they have common grounds, but really we had to come together to try to understand each other. And this was the purpose of the summer school in 2024. We started in 2023, where we invited 15 guests, including the rector from Kremenchuk, to talk about what their interests are, what the research was going to be, what their future of trajectory of their development in technology. It was going to be also conditioned by this conflict. This was useful because after we've started to know each other, we focalized and identified sectors that we could develop together. We joined grants applications with initiatives, and we had some good wins. For instance, we know how devastating can be the impact of a minefield. It can prevent and deter further invasion, but it can stay over there years and years, and then you have casualties. So we were very fortunate to have a group of willing headed by my colleague, Tim Pierce, together with colleagues at Kremenchuk University, that is Dmitry Manchuk, joining in with Azerbaijan in order to put together a scheme for the detection of mines and therefore for the prevention of loss in human lives. This is a very difficult problem to tackle in a traditional way. Demining is expensive, it is risky, it is lengthy, it is so anything we can do in order to be able to automate the project and the process post-war is very worthwhile. Tim has come on board with his artificial intelligence knowledge and has really stepped up. We ended up with about 454,000 pounds of collaborative grant, including collaboration with current demining services, organizations that aim for that provide this particular service. Another adventure that we have embarked is looking at energy sectors of Ukraine and looking at the frantically systematic degradation that the energy distribution has undergone over these last 3 years, trying to see what could be done about it. I'm really happy to announce that there is a new call for assistance in the actions in order to mitigate the disruption of energy sectors in Ukraine that is forward-looking towards the reconstruction of the local and national energy sectors with a focus towards renewables. There is therefore an opportunity to really step up and give a modern and sustainable plan for the future of energy provision within Ukraine that can be imitated and enveloped within the wider scope of Europe. And this is going to be a ballpark figure, £2 million enterprise that is going to be multi-university, both with Ukraine, UK, and involving industry. Reflecting upon achievements, it was not my remit just to look after technological achievements. We also had the twinning with Poltava State University, and this was via Anna Trollman. She understood that the security of food, both going into Ukraine and out of Ukraine, was a key part for the agenda, sustainable agenda, in order to generate income coming into Ukraine by sales of food. So she put together a program in order to look out, in order to have a traceability of the food products from Ukraine going outwards, and that was a very good foresight, and it is an exciting program to have had. Perhaps I'm not making full justice to those to those plans, and I think that it would be nice to be able to hear from my colleagues in Kremenchuk and Poltava about what their take is with respect to the project that we've developed so far and what we can do further from them. So without further ado, I think that I'd like to introduce, I believe we have in call Andrei Gladil from Kremenchuk, whether he would like to say a few words about how this experience has been from his side.
Hold on.
So can we start?
Yes, go ahead, Andres. Great to have you here. Welcome to you and your colleagues from Kremenchuk.
Okay.
Do go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. It's really important event for us to mark 3 years of war in Ukraine. So that is why I'm here with my rector, Professor Zahirnyak, here, and it's hard to believe that for more than 3 years, Ukraine has been fighting with a brutal war for its independence against Russian invaders. It's also hard to believe that this summer marks 3 years of our collaboration between Leicester and Kremenchuk universities. So next slide, please. We started our collaboration in summer 2022. The Cormac Consultancy Group matched our universities with its twin, University of Leicester, in early June 2022. Our partnership gained urgency after the devastating missile strike on the Amstor shopping mall in Kremenchuk, which deeply affected our university community. And this critical moment, our British colleagues from Leicester stood by us, offering both moral support and practical assistance. Next slide, please. On December 16 in 2022, a memorandum of understanding was signed between our universities, signed by our rector, Professor Mikhail Zahirnyak, and Professor Nishan Canagarajah, President of University of Leicester. This significant event was attended by university's leaders and faculty members, representatives from CCG, the chair of Union of Rectors of Ukraine, and local government officials from Kremenchuk. Next slide, please. Our cooperation started with academic mobility for our students. It was fantastic experience for our students in 2023. First 4 students started education for 1 term, and in 2024 it was 5 students, and right now 2 students from our university are studying at Leicester, and it's great possibilities experience for our students. Next slide, please. Thanks to the proactive efforts of Professor Dr. Alda Rona, our university and Leicester secured an UK international grant to develop 5 roadmap for our collaboration. And because of that grant, Summer School 2023 became possible, and you can see the picture as our leaders of our university discuss the 5 roadmap details. And also 11 researchers from Kremenchuk participated in this summer school in Leicester. And in the picture below right corner, you can see as our rector met our student who were studying there at that time in Leicester. It was fantastic experience for our lecturers, researchers, and students. Next slide, please. To underline very important role of the Leicester in humanitarian aid activity. Mr. Registrar Jeff Green played a pivotal role in managing all activities, but especially coordinating humanitarian aid assistance. Next slide. We received significant amount of equipments last summer in 2024, and this allowed our university to establish 2 modern laboratories, computer classes, now used for independent assessments for our students, online learning, and researchers. Thank you so much for that. Next slide. Mr. Philip Horspool, thank you very much for supporting development of our English language skills, and a lot of special online in-person programs was established, and right now is going on our online education for our students and for our lecturers. And last summer we participated in fantastic intensive course of English, EMI, English as Medium of Instruction, where we significantly improved our language skills. Thank you for this support. Next slide. The growth of our partnership was strongly supported by CCG, which organized 2 important conferences, twinning conferences, and we participated in both of them, and where we could possibility to plan our further activities, our next steps in our cooperation. I think, next slide. I think because of all that support and assistance, we have a lot of successful grant results, and we realize that it's because of our partnership with Leicester University. For example, last month was completed important project, UK-Ukraine cooperation and for gender equality partnership, and Dr. Harald Ruiz and our Dr. Victoria Polinic led this project successfully, and they are going to try to win next grant in such field. Next slide. It's a next key milestones project. It's winning the NATO grant, Science for Peace and Security, and last month started kickoff meeting when we started our cooperation with Leicester and Azerbaijan in very important for us topic, demining. And we signed special agreement with State Demining Center in Ukraine to help them in this incredibly hard process of demining. And it means that we have strong collaboration and cooperation nearest 3 years in this very important for Ukraine activity. Next slide. And we are building next plan for our future, and we are thinking about next grants in the field of Ukraine's energy recovery. And this call was announced last week, and we are thinking about how to attend this important for Ukraine project for cooperation. Generally, all activities, all among them, very important for us. All activities, if activities for student mobility, language support, grant activities, it really support our university. It means it support our Ukraine. And as I said, we have a lot of mental connections and practical support. And we would like to express our gratitude to President of the Leicester and all academic staff in supporting our country and our university. We appreciate your support. Thank you so much.
Thank you, British friend.
Thank you both, and thank you, Andrei, for those kind words. It's a pleasure for Leicester to be twinned with your university, and I'd like to say, a big thank you to you, Andrei, for all of the work that you've put in over the last 3 years. It's been fantastic to work with you. As I said a while ago, we have 2 twins, so I'm really pleased also that we're able to hear from our second twin from Poltava State Agrarian University. So I believe we're going to hear from Edward, who is from the International Relations Office. So over to you, Edward.
Thank you. Dear colleague, partners, thank you for the opportunity to join this event. Next slide, please. Thank you. With the support of Chroma Consultancy Group, Poltava State Agrarian University has joined the UK Ukrainian Twin Initiative. Next slide, please. One of the key stages of the Twinning Initiative was the signing of a memorandum of partnership with the University of Leicester on 24 November 2022. Now we would like to present the opportunity of the cooperation between our university. Next slide, please. Next. Thank you. Thanks to joint cooperation with the University of Leicester, 27 students of Poltava State Agrarian University participated on an online course in general academic English. 6 students had the opportunity to study directly at the University of Leicester. 3 of whom have already completed the program, while the other 3 continue their study. Next slide, please. Throughout 2023, a series of lectures and seminars were organized for first and second year student of the Faculty of Philology, covering various aspects of academic preparation. Next slide, please. Social attention was given to lecture and workshops on literature under the guidance of Dr. Christina Wolf. Next slide, please. In addition, students and lecturers of Department of Entrepreneurship and Law of our university took part in lecture and law and international law organized by the Center of European Law and International Integration of the University of Leicester. Next slide, please. A significant result was the replenishment of the language center library at Poltava State Agrarian University. Thanks to the twinning initiative, the University of Leicester donated 800 books, contributing to the further development of language training and academic activities. Next slide, please. Next. As a part of the cooperation with the University of Leicester from April 2023 to September 2024, the international research project Traceability in the Food Supply Chain for improved global and national competitiveness was implemented under leadership of Dr. Hannah Trollman. Within this project, working meeting and field studies were conducted, including on 1st August 2024 focus group meeting dedicated to analyzing the dairy supply chain. Next slide, please. Additionally, several grant applications have been submitted aimed at expanding digital education opportunities and development academic leadership. Work is currently underway on a joint project for the digitalization of rare library editions and the creation of an electronic database in cooperation with the University of Leicester Library. Next slide, please. Preparation have also begun for a series of webinars and lectures for young researchers and postgraduates in 2025. Next slide, please. Next. Thank you. Currently, 16 staff members of our university are undergoing training in the English for Ukrainian staff course. Our lecturers actively participate in a summer program. Next slide, please. 2 lecturers of philology completed the EAP teacher development program in 2023. In August 2024, next slide, please. Two more lecturers participated in the EMI teacher development program. The acquired knowledge was implemented in articles and theses and was also used to develop the course preparation for teaching in an EMI environment. With it already being implemented at our university. Next slide, please. An important aspect of cooperation was the participation of representatives of our university in international conferences. Next slide, please. This achievement are a vivid example of the international cooperation can be transform the education and scientific landscape of Ukraine, helping our students and lecturers adapt to a new challenge and implement best practice in the learning process. We express our deep gratitude to our partners and president of the University of Leicester. Joint efforts help us to grow, strengthen academic ties, and prepare for new opportunities. Thank you very much for your attention and support.
Thank you very much, Edward, for that, and thanks to both Kremenchuk and Poltava for sharing all that information with us. So we're going to move on now. As I said at the outset, many people, as well as institutions, offered their support to Ukraine after the invasion 3 years ago. We're going to hear from one of those people today, Chris Trafford, who's a management accountant at the university, who has done some absolutely fantastic work, which he's going to share with us now. Chris.
Thanks, Phil. So yeah, thank you, Phil. For the last, well, nearly 3 years now, myself and some friends have been supporting a refugee centre in Ukraine. We set up a crowdfunder and have raised through the crowdfunder and directly around £80,000 to date. When the warfare started, we were seeing the horrific images of tanks rolling into Ukraine and the towns being flattened. Myself and some friends felt powerless and helpless, but wanted to do something, whatever we could do. We realised we had some mutual friends in Romania on the border with Ukraine, where thousands of Ukrainians were fleeing each day. Within a couple of weeks, we had some flights booked and a crowdfunder, the crowdfunder set up. Whilst we were there, we found a local church was receiving requests from links across Ukraine where infrastructure was damaged and essential supplies were not getting through. We found we could get some supplies to exactly where they were needed, and we could get pictures and videos of the team that we met distributing the supplies. Yet some in the UK asked, how do you know that the supplies get to where they intend to go to? So a few weeks later, we returned and went to a wholesaler. Next slide, please. Purchased a van's worth of food and went into Ukraine with it to document its path. After many long stops at military checkpoints and some sketchy moments where passports were taken away, we finally arrived at the refugee centre. Next slide. It was later than we hoped, so we ended up staying over. What we found was truly inspiring. Set in a beautiful, peaceful countryside in relative safety, 140 displaced people were receiving an incredible love and care. They take anybody and everyone they can. In Romania, when we were there, mainly women and children were there because the men couldn't leave the country. In Ukraine, the whole families were still united. The dedication of the volunteers was humbling to see. In the darkest of circumstances, we were seeing the brightest, the most generous of humanity. Every day, a team of 8 volunteers arrived at 7 a.m. to cook. They didn't leave till 9 p.m. Others came to clean, to pastorally support the displaced people, and to look after the site. We heard many testimonies of just how brutal the war was. Next slide. This is Esther and David. David plays the piano incredibly well. Esther was a music teacher. They were singing and harmonizing and playing the piano, creating incredible sound. Their older brother had just been killed in the war. He was a concert violin player. It made it real to us. Another lady described being sexually assaulted by the Russian army, the Russian military. She would then see the same men around her town in the weeks after, and she needed to escape. There's many stories. One last story. We were volunteering on the border in Romania, helping people that didn't have onward travel plans. One young mom, she was about 20 years old, came over the border. She came on foot. She came with her 1-year-old son. The son was crying. As I was helping her with her suitcases and luggage to get to the check-in desk, I was trying to help the young boy not to be crying, playing peekaboo. He settled down a bit. I started talking to the mom after she'd checked in, and she was telling me through tears of leaving her partner behind, the difficult decisions that she had to make around leaving her family and her partner behind. I was angry. I was really upset. I was sad. and I just wanted to do whatever I could. I wanted to stop the war. I wanted to be able to reunite her with her family. We couldn't, so we had to do what we could. We were able to find her onward transport, accommodation. We're able to supply her with a buggy for Igor, her child. There's lots of stories I could share, but I guess what we were really encouraged with was seeing the people at the refugee centre being given time and space to recover and talk about and process what had happened to them. The centre was funded by local Ukrainians, again doing what they could. It cost £6,000 a month to run. So we decided at this point to divert our support to this centre. And since that time, nearly 3 years ago, we donated over £1,000 every month, as well as funding one-off projects. The centre didn't have any running water, so they were collecting tap water each day from a local town. It was expensive and time-consuming, and they had a number of illnesses due to the water. Next slide, please. We were able to pay for a well to be dug, a pump and a filter to be fitted, and they've had no illnesses since. We also paid for a van, next slide please, to transport people to the local town. The monthly donations, amongst other things, help to pay for the diesel for the generator, which means the lights, the fridges, the freezers can stay on, despite the grid only supplying electricity for a few hours each day. Since then, we've been back each year to help run kids camps for displaced children. And it's such a joy to see them having fun and remembering to be children. I guess, next slide, please. It wouldn't be fair of me to say all this without giving you the opportunity to join in and help. We tend to find that less than 1% of people that think this is a brilliant project are actually able to or remember to donate. So if you're thinking now, I'd like to donate, why not remember this evening and find this link on the crowdfunder and donate. Even a small amount each month would be a big help to those this supports. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris, for sharing that with us. It's inspirational what you and others have done in support. So we just want to move on now for the last part of today's session to start thinking about looking forwards, what we've learned so far, what initiatives we can take forwards. And I'm absolutely delighted to welcome Leonie from King's to share some of her thoughts with us today. Leonie.
Thank you so much, Phil, and everyone who's been working on this. I've realised we're running slightly over time, so I'll keep it very short so that you've got some time for a Q&A as well at the end. Yeah, what I want to say is, to some extent, we'll draw on and sort of develop further what Paul's already been discussing earlier. So that's really thinking about the initiative that we set up collaboratively with the King's together with Leicester and other universities, how that fits into a broader framework of thinking about safe pathways. And when I speak about safe pathways, I mean ways in which people that are forcibly displaced can safely travel to another country. So for instance, we can see that through the Homes for Ukraine scheme, but there's many other contexts as well in which that is important. And actually, for most people that are forcibly displaced, they do not have access to such a safe pathway because the ways in which the borders work. So a lot of people either get stuck or have to rely on irregular means, so taking a dinghy or across the sea or sort of other ways in which they would travel and not regularly. And then we've identified that as a big problem, and one of the responses to that to make sure that the safe pathways that do exist become accessible to people that need them most. And I think it's been fantastic to see with the Homes for Ukraine scheme that something like that can be done. That the UK is able to step up and actually quite quickly develop a scheme whereby people can travel safely to the UK and then are supported in the UK. So that's something at King's that I've been working on for much longer, and we've kind of worked on other schemes as well. I won't speak about now, but we saw the Homes for Ukraine scheme and the work we did collaboratively around that bringing people over to the UK, supporting them with scholarships and housing and so on. We see that as part of a sort of much bigger project to try and create safe pathways more generally for everyone, but also specifically in relation to higher education, so for both students and academics. And so I want to say a few sort of brief remarks. I won't do my whole presentation, say a few brief remarks around this, how the work we've done collaboratively and the partnerships we've developed around Homes for Ukraine have helped us to think about that more generally and continue that work as well. So one way that has sort of done that as part of the more general UK higher education sector response to Ukraine, there was a helping report kind of lessons learned, and one of the things that advocated for is to have a much more coordinated approach and create a kind of more frameworks around these issues. So rather than when something happens, when there is a war, country gets invaded and we need a response, it's not an ad hoc emergency response, but we already have a framework in place. We already have the tools, we have the partnerships, so we can work with those. And in order to facilitate that, we worked together with, and we still work together with the University of Edinburgh, and we set up the Higher Education Humanitarian Group. So that's a group of universities who are trying to do this work and kind of create the kind of overarching framework and these kind of sustainable frameworks. Coordinate, catalyse support for forcibly displaced students and academics across UK higher education. And we've got 4 different priority areas, and one of them is safe pathways. So on one hand is moving away from emergency response, but at the same time, we also sometimes need to work with that because a lot of what the government is doing is emergency response. So there's a bit of a tension there. But that's one of the ways in which we try and develop that work further. And I'm going to speak in a moment a little bit about some of the work that's going on in relation to Gaza as well, that's come out of that. But what I want to do first is speak about some of the work that we have, so we've been working on, and that where the work we've done around Ukraine has really helped us think and learn about what works and what doesn't work, to develop safe pathways more generally and specifically in relation to higher education. So we've done a research policy project on safe pathways more generally to the UK, and sort of written a report that's very nearly published. And we're now working together with various organisations in the UK as well as government and so on to try and get this implemented. And one of the things we're advocating for there is to have one scheme. So at the moment, there is a scheme, like there was a Homes for Ukraine scheme, there's a scheme for Afghans, there's other community sponsorship schemes, and what we say, actually, we need one overarching framework so that everyone, regardless of where you are from, where you are fleeing from, you have access to safe routes and you have access to housing and other types of support, so that and it is not different, depending on where you're from or how you've travelled. So that's one of the things that we're working on, and so I do that, through the research we've done, but I'm also part of various other coalitions and partnerships in civil society sector and with government to do that. So that's one thing, and at the same time we're also working on a much larger research grant application specifically around safe pathways in higher education. And working again with other organisations that across the UK higher education sector to develop that. And so finally, briefly, I want to say a few words about Gaza. So that's one of the things with the Higher Education Humanitarian Group we're working on as well. And again, trying to think about what have we learned in relation to Ukraine, what works and what doesn't work, and can we develop something similar for Gaza? So making sure that people that are displaced now from Gaza, or indeed stuck in Gaza, that need to are affected by the violence there, that they are also able to come to the UK safely and, for instance, take up scholarships and so on. It's a lot more difficult because government policy is very different, right? And there's much more of a reluctance to support that. So there's a lot of work to be done around that. But I think and also, of course, the higher education sector in Gaza is very different than that in Ukraine. So there's lots of differences. But I think the broader framework, and that includes safe pathways, that includes twinning, I think all those kind of aspects, and there's a lot that can be learned from that. So that's one thing we're working on as well together. And Alex is here on the call, so I've done a lot of work in relation to that as well. So I'll stop there. I'm happy to answer any questions, but so at least there's a bit of time for a Q&A as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Leonie, for shooting through that. I know there's so much more you could have shared with us, but yeah, so we're coming to the end. If anybody does have any questions or points they want to make, please add them into the Q&A part of. There are, as far as I know, there aren't any questions there at the moment. I must say, congratulations to everyone for actually pretty much sticking to time. Actually, when I saw there were 69 PowerPoint slides and how many speakers there were, I was feared the worst. But thanks to all for more or less sticking to the times. I think. I think if there are no questions, we will finish the session. Just got a couple of final points to make. First of all, thank you so much to all of the speakers and everyone for joining us today. Certainly I felt inspired listening to each and every one of the speakers today. You know, above all else, what we really hope for is peace in Ukraine, and what I'm convinced about is all of the partners and people that we've heard from today, that we will continue to work together and build together. And I think there's lots of positives, as people have been saying, to come out of this terrible situation at the moment. Oh, we have a question. Okay. Okay, so the question from anonymous is, can I continue? Okay, so the question, I think this is a question really for you, Leonie, around the kind of schemes for partnerships and funding. You can see the question, I think, at the bottom. So can it continue to be sustainable? Where might future funding for these schemes and partnerships come from? So always a good question. Where does the funding come from?
Yeah, I think, and that's a really good question. And I think what we've seen in relation to Ukraine, I think more than any sort of any other war, as far as I can remember, is the kind of support we've had and the funding that's been available in the higher education sector, right, with a lot of people and donors coming forward, which has been fantastic. But I think we also see now, I mean, you know, this is how things work. Then people start focusing on something else. Of course, there's lots more going on around the world, and it tends to dry up a bit. So I think what the positive is, what this has done, and I've tried to refer to that earlier, is that there is now much more interest in creating these more sustainable frameworks, so that there is central, for instance, King's central university funding for scholarships. That's for Ukrainians as well as others, right? But that's something we didn't have before. We have now because of what happened, right? And I think that is where I would see things go forward. So partly it is kind of integrating it into existing structures and having that support for Ukraine as part of a package of support for others as well, right? That universities just do. And I think a lot more universities have started doing this, which is great. But I think also is really thinking about having the types of initiatives that are almost kind of self-funding, right? That kind of are able to work on their own, because in terms of a lot of funding that has existed is come from partly research councils that's drying up because they start focusing on other things, and then also philanthropic funding, which again, you know, is not sort of that stable over the longer term. But I think with initiatives like twinning, when you can make it work for both partners, right, and when you're both supporting one another and collaborating, I think those are kind of ways in which that can be done. But it is always precarious. And it's always difficult, something we need to keep working on.
Thanks. Thank you, Leonie. Don't think there are any other questions, and it is 1:15, and I am a stickler for finishing on time. So just as a final thing, just like to draw your attention to tomorrow's event, Researching Refugeedom, 12 o'clock. See the details there, and also there is a Literary Leicester event on March the 20th, and you can see the details there. Both hope that you can join one or both of those events. And just to say also that all of the sessions for Breaking Barriers Refugee will be posted on our YouTube channel. So please do share the links when you get them with any people who you think might be interested. Okay, colleagues and friends, that brings today's session to an end. It's been a pleasure to see you all. Thank you again for joining us, and keep safe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Same for you. All the best.
Thank you. Thanks all. Take care.
Thank you for your support.